And a happy Wednesday morning to everyone out there. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, the top Caesar brand in the country with over 400 million cans crushed every year by Canadians. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with you here as always, and joining us today, it is one of our favorites, Jeff Krushell. Krush Performance, a Krush Performance friend of EST. You can catch it Wednesdays, which is tonight, live 7 o'clock right here on our audio stream, whether edmontonsportstalk.com or on TuneIn. I like that little sweater you got on there.
Yeah, it's 'tis the season, I think, right?
How are you?
Good, really good. Little jet lag still, fellas, not going to lie. Had squash league last night, stepped right in.
You're jet lagged.
Yeah.
I've been talking to you for 25 minutes and like you've had energy at 11 the whole time.
I don't know.
Amazing.
I'm pretty jet lagged.
So it's
There
you
we
guys
go.
speaking of that
okay.
part of it. It's
There
weird.
we go.
How's that?
Yeah, so like you didn't fly from Toronto to Edmonton jet lagged. You were in the Middle East.
Yeah, it was a great trip.
Bahrain?
Bahrain.
Did you go drive the little F1 track?
No, we saw it though. We did do, so what they have is they have outdoor go-karting and they have an exact replica of the F1 track.
Oh, really?
Oh, I nailed it, man. Like we went down there and we did two races on the track. It was awesome. And these are outdoor gas-powered, go-karts. We were flying. I think it was the middle level of kart. You have to do so many races on that one before you get the big boys.
Ooh.
So if I ever go back, I'm going to try to log a few more races so I can get in their top go-kart because it was fun. Oh my gosh.
You know what's actually, just speaking of F1, this is how crazy the F1 drivers are of knowing their tracks. I saw a video yesterday of like, there'd be like an F1 track put on a board that you could put your finger on, and Max Verstappen was blindfolded, and he could put exactly where the starting line was.
Yeah,
He
really.
just ran his fingers around it, took his car, took his mask off, and it was dead on where the starting line was. That's how good and like they memorized that track.
I believe it, honestly.
That it's just in their mind. They could just do it with their finger and I know exactly which track that is.
Yeah.
I know which track it is. That means we start right here. Boom, put his little car, lifted up his mask, and went, yep, nailed it. And did like 5 of them.
Yeah.
No kidding. See,
crazy.
I love that stuff. And those guys, come on now. That's high performance stuff like any other sport. But I am telling you what, man, I've been to the Grand Prix before. Of course, here in Edmonton was super.
Yeah.
The one in Toronto as well, the St. Petersburg one. But I've never been to an F1. Like that is in my bucket list for sure.
The thing I've heard is because of the Vegas one, street races are not as fun to watch in person as a track that is designed to have races there. Because they're designed with the seats in certain spots, so you have a better view of everything. Otherwise, it's just the car quickly zooms by you, and that's all you see.
Verstappen actually talked about, speaking of Max Verstappen, going into the Vegas GP last week or 2 weeks ago. He was saying, he's like, oh, it doesn't have the same essence as a Spa or Monza or anything like that. And he's like, the heart isn't there. I'm paraphrasing him, but he touched on that. He actually was like, yeah, it's cool. We're in Vegas. Could I go with my mates and get S-faced and have a absolutely crazy weekend in Vegas? Yeah, I could do that. He's like, the true essence of racing isn't in this Las Vegas race, and that's where the 99% show, 1% race quote kind of came from.
I wonder if part of that though is like it's a new race, so like that essence builds in over time. You know, if it like when the World Cup of Hockey returns, we're gonna still be saying we want the Olympics, But at some point after you do something long enough, it becomes a part of it. That maybe the F1 race then just needs 10 years, where a driver then will go sit there and go, this is now a solid spot because it's now got a history.
Yeah, but like, I don't think Vegas will ever
show?
become Monaco.
No.
They're talking about pulling that track out.
Gosh, what a shame that would be. That would be a major loss. Think of the golf courses, right? Same thing. You go to a new golf course. Okay, cool to see a new golf course, but it doesn't have the history of a Pebble Beach or, something.
St. Andrews.
St. Andrews,
all
of
that.
course. Yeah,
Augusta.
right?
Like how many new courses do you sit there and be like, I want to go play that one?
Right.
I wanted to play Chambers Bay for the longest time because of the 2015 Men's US Open because it was such a disaster for the players.
Right.
But then they've changed it all. Like the greens at the time weren't green. It was like, and you couldn't tell where the green started and everything was. And I loved, and I was like, that is so different. It's so unique. I would love to go play that and try that. And they've changed that. They've changed their grass and things. So now it's like Chambers Bay to me is like, meh. So you're right. It's like there isn't that history of even to the newer course where it's like it's the ones that have the history, like Torrey Pines. Tigers won there 8 or 9 times. I want to go play Torrey Pines.
Yes,
Right.
that's what I'm
TPC
talking about.
Scottsdale, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and think about like the Triple Crown. Like, listen, I have one regret in life, boys.
Yeah.
It's one of.
Do tell.
So far, and I still got some time left here, thank goodness.
I was about
But
to say it's not like
but
you got
but, but this one's gone because my dad. We used to go to the horse races at Northlands with my dad, and it was just a special thing, right? We would go down, watch the horses march out down to the paddock. You know, we'd go talk with the jockeys because it was really open, right? And it was cool. As kids, my brother and I would go, and so that became a thing for us. He always wanted to hit the Triple Crown, but we
Go see him?
Yeah, to go see the three
Kentucky, Preakness, Belmont.
Yeah, and we didn't do it before he passed, and that's a big regret. But you want to talk about historical go-to events? I mean, that's the pinnacle of it all, right there. The Triple Crown races. So that's something my brother and I, my 2 brothers, have talked about trying to do in his honor. Right?
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
the Kentucky Derby attendance, it's over 150,000 people.
Oh no, it's amazing.
It's utterly insane how many people pack that place to go watch. Now there's races all day.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just watching the one race, but the big race, it goes for what, 2 minutes?
Yeah, right.
And the pageantry around
Yes.
it, the hype and hoopla.
The women's with their
it's
big,
kinda-
extravagance hats.
He'd be wearing a
and-
top hat and a tuxedo
Amen.
made of velour.
3-piece.
You have to.
I'm gonna have
Yeah.
a cane. Trust me, I'm gonna have
Oh,
a
I
cane
like
and a
as well.
monocle.
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. I've got my pocket watch that my parents gave me, a grad. I'll be wearing that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say this, like I every year try to stop to watch the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, me too.
I want to know when post time is, and I'll do whatever I'm doing. But
Right.
if I'm around the TV by post time, I want to watch it. I don't know. There's just something about the Kentucky Derby and that one race and just watching it go. I don't know anything about the horses.
Yeah.
I've never been, but there's something beautiful.
Yeah.
About the Kentucky Derby, and then. You go, you pay attention to the Preakness because you want to see if whoever wins the Kentucky Derby can win in the Preakness, and if they do, well, you're looking at the Triple Crown.
Now things are getting
which
exciting.
I think we've seen now twice in the last 10 years
Yeah,
or something like
right.
that. But 2015, I think, was the last time. It was the first time it happened in such a long time, and it was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, there's a history there
Yeah.
though. They can't shake. So here's the deal. My first year with the big leagues with the Blue Jays.
Yes.
Our first visit to New York. Oh man, and this is the old New York.
Yeah.
Oh,
That would've been
man.
cool.
Listen, I get goosebumps right now thinking about it because I played baseball as a kid. I was a baseball fan. Walking into the underground of Yankee Stadium, thinking about in history who has walked those hallways. Oh man, you know those times you just have to stop and take a moment. I had to stop and just take a moment and just go, are you freaking kidding me? And before I even went to the clubhouse, I took a hard left and went down, walked up into the dugout, and just to see the field. And the field goes like this from the dugout, right?
Oh,
At
yeah?
Yankee Stadium. Yeah, you can't even really see first base because it's rounded like this.
Oh.
And I just stood there and looked, and I'm going, are you just think of who has stood on this field? Oh gosh, come on. Special moment. But there again, another Yankee Stadium. Come on. And that's kind of like the race. Maybe the Vegas race just doesn't have that feel yet because it is flashy and new and they're all
Yeah.
sexy and everything, right? So,
And it was very Vegas too.
yeah.
Like you can't go to Vegas and not have a show around it because
Absolutely.
then it's not Vegas. That's who they are. That's their DNA. And so you need that when it comes to that race.
It was like artificially created hype, and like there was so much fighting in the city over the streets being repaved and disruption and this and that. And then the fact F1 pumped $500 million into it. So it had all of that working against it, but then you watch the race weekend and you're like, that looks awesome. So maybe Crusher, they overcome that hump, if you will, or hurdle. But they did have a 3-year deal. They want to get it to 10, but yeah, it's almost like it's formulaic to an extent. So it doesn't have that essence, apparently.
10 years. 10 years. I would get that 10-year deal done.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, it has to.
Like Vegas residents could complain all they want. If F1 and Liberty, who owns F1, say, yeah, we'll extend through 10 years, it's happening. And you know how often this money talks.
Yeah. Monaco, though.
All
I
the
didn't
time.
know this.
There was talk of like
Because there's too many races now.
that they might pull Monaco.
They've added 2
That's
U.S.
kinda like pulling
races. and
wrestling from the Olympics, though, isn't it? I mean, come on.
It's because it's a boring race
Yeah.
for the casual people. So F1 was bought out by an American company over
Yeah.
the last few years, Liberty, and they're trying to make it. I would say they're trying to Americanize it a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
So when you have a very boring race where there's no real passing and nothing's happening, the casual fan or that new F1 fan is going to sit there and go, "This is the most boring thing ever."
Yeah.
Whereas the long-standing F1 fan is going to sit there and be like, "No, you're not seeing the beauty of F1. You're missing the extra parts of this. You're missing the beauty of this track. All of that." But Liberty doesn't care. They're going,
I
you're still
gotcha.
going to watch.
Corporate America.
You guys are all still going to watch.
That's-
But I need these new Americans to watch, so we got to go places that are flashier.
Isn't that like pulling, though, one of those historic races? Isn't that like taking
Yes.
the Preakness out of the Triple Crown?
Yes.
Come on, you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do that to a sport. That would be a tragedy, in my opinion.
Well,
Again,
Spa's has been on the chopping
block.
block a little bit too, and that's a historic track.
That might be why Verstappen said Spa. Like, 'cause-
Oh man.
Because another problem is this. So they've added, not we. I don't know why I said we on
No,
that
that's
one.
okay. I'll let that one slide.
They've added 2 more US. They've
Right.
added
Austin and Miami.
Qatar
Vegas,
over the last
yeah.
few years.
Yeah.
I think it was like they're adding all these tracks, and now it's like they're coming up on 24 races or whatever in the year, and the drivers and the teams, like that's just, we got to move all this stuff. We got to send everything over. We also need time to just have a rest.
Yeah.
We can't be going 12 months of the year. So that's where now it's okay, well, what's the max amount of races you can have? And okay, now they've hit it. So are they going to get rid of any of the American races? Not a chance.
Of course not.
Oh, okay.
And then you can't get rid of certain, you're not going to get rid of the Canadian race. You're not going to get rid of the Brazilian race or the Mexican race, because part of that is also it's
on
the continent.
this
It's
side of
the
the
lone
world, yeah.
race. You're not going to get rid of Silverstone in England. So it's where can you take the cuts? And you'll look at England where it's all so tight and go, well, if we get rid of Monaco, well, people go catch a different Grand Prix nearby.
Yep. So as a business, though, their number one goal is to make money, right?
And they'd make a lot of it.
Yeah.
Crush.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
For sure. But cutting races just wouldn't seem like a good way to expand your profit margins. So how about this? Let's make a proposal. What if we did a written proposal to them? Say, how about, does this make sense to the racing fans? And I am not a big racing fan. I do appreciate the sport, though. But what if they had qualification races rather than canceling some of these historic races? Have like a series of whatever the classic number of F1 races would be. What's the annual circuit number of races?
22 to 24 right now, I think, around there.
Say you lock it in at 22, right? That's the 22 big leagues, and then you have, in order to get your car up there, kind of like soccer, you have a
Promotion relegation?
Yeah, promotion relegation.
Here's why I don't think it would work, because these companies, like there's 10 teams, they pay big money to be part of it.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, if I'm spending all this money on research, spending all this money on development, engineering, building these cars, and I've also paid to have my 2 cars there, I want my 2 cars
Understood.
there.
No.
I'm not playing in that game. I'm staying as one of the top.
Yeah.
And actually F1 might expand the number of cars. There's
right.
talk of Ford wanting to get in.
Ford wants in now?
and,
Okay.
I think,
Isn't,
or no, they're going to the Andretti family wants
Andretti's
to get
getting in
2
there.
cars.
Yeah.
So now is it going to be 20 teams, or we're going to be seeing 24 teams by the end of the decade,
Right.
or 10 teams to 12 teams, so 20 to 24 cars?
Was there talk of getting
And
rid
so-
of AlphaTauri? I know they're going to be. Gager was talking that they're going to be driving in the or built off of the Red Bull car from this past.
I don't
year.
think they will, because that's Red Bull's junior team.
Essentially, but
I don't
they
think
compete with Red Bull. That's the amazing part
But
of
they
it.
but then they
Right.
have 4 cars.
Yes.
Out of 20.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and that's your develop. You could develop new drivers, pump
Yeah.
them up to the big team
Well, that's what
if
Pierre
things are
Gasly
going.
when he
Well, that's
failed
the
when he
thing.
got promoted to Red Bull. Yeah.
So, but it's
I
you
hear
never
you.
cut away. It's the same as like, what would hockey be great at? Probably 65 to 72 games or something right now.
Yeah.
Well, go to the owners and say, we're going to cut gate revenue by 8 home dates, 7 home dates. They're going to go, absolutely not.
Sure.
No.
Sure.
Absolutely not. We want that money. And so NFL's expanded to an extra
17,
week.
Yeah.
Once the money's there,
Yeah.
they ain't getting rid of it.
Yeah, the Black Friday game now.
Yep.
That's
Right.
right. Going up against college, like, because historically it was Thursday was for NFL, Friday started college.
Yep.
And now the NFL's going up against college.
Yep.
Which has really annoyed a lot of people in the
I
college
get
world.
it, for sure. That's the kind of their day, right? So
Yeah.
interesting. Very interesting stuff. Well, that's a historical side, right? And
Yeah.
times change, I guess. But man, I don't know about losing those those historical races like that.
Well, just look at how many the big, Wrigley's still around, Fenway's still around, but now it's like, okay, well, I hope those clubs keep them.
Yeah.
But are we going to see the situation where somebody builds the new Fenway, like the new Yankee Stadium, or do they keep renovating?
They had
it?
that debate, and
it's
keeping old Fenway and basically building a new stadium from within the old one is basically what's happened.
Yeah. It's been rebuilt, but oh my gosh, man! Out of
MSG is still around, which is great.
Yeah.
But Boston Gardens is gone.
Yeah.
Maple Leaf Gardens is gone.
Maybe.
Apparently, Boston Gardens was a hellhole. Everyone I talked to said it was terrible.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but like cool.
Yeah.
But just like someone said, there was a story where a player was on a trainer's table, and as he was stepping to get onto the table, accidentally kicked like the sideboard, and it fell down, and then a bunch of cockroaches fell out. That was Boston Garden, like rats everywhere.
Boston.
Well, that's where the lights went out in the Stanley Cup, right?
1988,
that's right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Fenway is out of all the ballparks. I've been to everyone, I think. Well, I haven't been to the new Yankee Stadium yet, though.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Crusher,
not
it's
I
awesome.
haven't been.
You
in
went to the old one.
Yeah, I was at the old one.
Who cares?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah. I want to see the new one. I just have not made it to the new stadium yet. But Fenway is my favorite ballpark in baseball.
It's pretty cool.
It is.
I like it more than Wrigley.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Me too.
Yeah.
Why?
I just got a better vibe out of it. I enjoyed the game more. Not that it was a better game in particular, but like it had a vibe to it that I really liked, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. And you look, there's the monster, you get that faded green, and you think about the history there, and I was just like, wow, that's so cool. And then when I did go to Wrigley, it was pretty damn neat. Like it's a sweet area. They built the offices and the dugout, or they didn't build the dugout. They built the new locker room for the Cubbies in the new offices. So basically, there's a tunnel under the street that the players walk from the new locker room, into the dugout. Like it's cool that way, but I didn't enjoy it as much. Like it wasn't as comfortable, it wasn't as fun. It was neat looking and seeing the Chicago skyline, and you took the train in, and the vibe around it was all right. But there was something about Fenway where I was just like, damn, this is cool.
Getting to Fenway is fun.
Is cool.
Just getting there is fun. The location and all the stuff that's going on
It's
around
a party.
it. And you walk in and there you are, man. And you could tell you could feel the history there.
At Fenway, and I think, people, I'm sure there's a bunch of Edmontonians and people watching and listening that have probably been to a game at Fenway, but I remember I had to I scanned my ticket to get into the street outside the stadium. Yeah. And then the streets outside the stadium essentially became part of the stadium. And then you get into the stadium, it's so tiny in there. It was built in 1912. And you're like, oh my God, you see like the original walls and the
awesome.
Ceiling is low. And
cement's all rough.
Yeah. And Wrigley does have those elements, but the way Fenway is built, it's just like, this is something else. And yeah, I enjoy Fenway more than Wrigley, although I do appreciate Wrigley.
Yeah.
Have you been to all of them as an employee? Or yeah. What was the worst one?
Ooh,
is it Tropicana?
No, it was the old Florida Marlins one. Like,
oh really?
Yeah, it was
Hard Rock Stadium. What is now Hard Rock Stadium?
Yeah, before they.
It was Joe Robbie Pro Player Stadium.
I can't remember even what it was called.
Very cool.
Yeah, but that was one for me, and probably because there was only like 2,000 fans there. It was empty. There were maybe 5,000 or 6,000, but it looked empty, and it's hot and terrible, and it's just internally it wasn't set up properly.
How was the Big O?
The Big O was an incredible adventure. Like I don't know, that might. Well, now you make me think. That might be the worst.
Oh, it might have been past.
No, it was the worst.
Really?
Absolutely. That turf was like rock hard, and just the way it's laid out, wasn't built for baseball, of course.
Yeah.
So that was a really, really rough one.
The Big O, it was supposed to have a retractable roof.
Yeah.
It did, but then it broke.
Yeah,
didn't it?
Like many things. Like I remember elements like the cement was falling from the stands and stuff.
I recall one home game they had a rain delay.
And they had a roof.
Well, that's the thing. Like I remember seeing rain delay. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You guys have a roof.
Yeah. And that roof was low enough that a fly ball would hit it sometimes, apparently,
Could
much
be.
like Tropicana.
Yeah, exactly.
Still.
You get lost in there too. The balls will get lost. But here's the thing. We drove in one time and like it's an underground. There's just so much space underneath there. Like it's an underground, it's a labyrinth, it's a maze. But they had these corners like taped off. And big chunks of cement. Like I'm not talking little chunks of cement. I'm talking like do not enter. Right? I'm going, whoo, okay.
We're playing a major league game here tonight.
Yeah.
Hopefully Warren Cromartie and his team there could to get some funding for a stadium
I'd
so they
love
could
to
bring a
see-
team. Because
yeah, man.
that's where we're at with it, I think, with baseball. It's Montreal wants a baseball team, but they're like, well, first you got to give us a team.
Right.
For us to build you a stadium.
Yeah.
The league's going, we'll give you a team, but you first have to have a stadium. And it's like the game of almost chicken. Like, who's going to. I
think the league, this is my personal opinion, but I think the league uses Montreal as a red herring to go to other franchises to do what the league wants it to. Like,
That's fair.
hey, you guys don't want to build a new stadium in Tampa? Well, we'll split
go
your
to
games
Montreal.
with Montreal.
Yeah. No, and that's actually an interesting point too, because Manfred said that he had a mandate of expanding the league to teams, right? But before any of that could happen, the A's and Tampa had to be taken care of. Right, that was sort of his stepping stone, and now that's sort of taken care of. Thank goodness. It's going to be interesting to
Tampa?
see.
They're getting a new stadium, I think.
The new stadium.
Is
yeah,
that done? Okay.
Yeah, the new stadium. It's done. Like they've broken ground. So that's
okay.
So it's going to be. It's happening.
The A's, they're still working on the Tropicana spot, I think, or whatever. But
they got voted in. Like they unanimously voted the move.
But there's a guy I follow just a couple days ago. He was saying, because you were talking earlier this week about the spot for a new NBA stadium that got shut down, which is by the new Font Blue or whatever it's called and stuff.
Yeah, that hotel looks crazy.
Apparently, he's saying that maybe the A's will actually kind of look at that one because it's a bigger space, and it maybe it's a better spot to build a new stadium on. But so they have a few options there. But so if you're Rob Manfred, is Mexico City the first spot you're looking at after that's done?
Without question.
Yeah,
without question. You have what, 22 million people right there, and there's a baseball culture in Mexico.
Latinos love baseball, and they're great at it.
Listen, I just have one bucket list. Getting back to the bucket list thing, guys, I promise you, if you're a baseball fan, you need to go take in some Caribbean World Series games.
That'd be cool.
I'd love
to do that.
It's how sports should be. Like I'm telling you, you will never look at baseball the same. I can show you guys some videos. We were down in Sinaloa area in the lead up in the playoffs.
Isn't that like where the drug cartels are?
That's where our academy is. Yeah, that's another. I was kind of going, okay, hold on, travel.
Where the hell are you going, Krush?
Yeah. But Mexico has an unbelievable talent pool of players, young players, and they're working to develop the developmental system. But they have a baseball culture, man. But I am telling you, I have never had a sporting experience at any level in any sport like a playoff Caribbean World Series game.
Really?
It was, and the stadiums are beautiful, but it is a party, man.
That's cool.
Oh no, there is music and singing, and it doesn't stop for 3.5 hours.
I love that.
The fans are great. The lights are flashing. The mascots are on the field doing crap during play, right? The Bat Boys. I have videos of the Bat Boys. I'll show you guys later of them. They're some of the main attractions. Wow. They just sit there. They're like in sprint mode, and as the hitter's hitting, as soon as that bat drops, he sprints out. He sprints back. Everybody cheers. Hey, it's fantastic.
I love that.
But if
Plus, you're in the Caribbean.
But if you're a baseball fan, do it. Make that one of your number one goals. You will not be disappointed if you can get a ticket. That's the thing.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah, so if it's Mexico City, who would be the second place you'd want to expect?
Montreal.
It would have to be, I think.
I think if
you're Mexico, I don't think there's as natural as a spot as like the NBA, it's Vegas, it's Seattle. You could say if they want to go to. There's your two natural ones.
There's a group in Nashville looking to get a team there.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's I don't think that's as much of a slam dunk spot like a Mexico City would be. That
it's one of the fastest growing cities in the US.
But it'd be nice. I think you could make the argument if you're Montreal that we're just as good as them.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Mexico City would have to be the top though, because it's just
just from the brand, just from the MLB brand, ownership brand. Listen, come on, just you cannot not do it. But getting back to Montreal has to be a priority if they can pull it off. But the ownership group has already put forward their $250 million down payment to be accepted as a potential option for the league. So the ownership group is there, and they have Vegas ties. The ownership group in Montreal has strong Vegas ties, right? So there's something happening there. But I think the politics in Montreal and Quebec, I think that's what's holding them back right now, right? With the stadium and where they're going to build it and who's going to pay for it. But I think if that ownership group could make it happen stadium wise, it's a lock. Can you imagine Montreal and Mexico City? In the league,
Mexico City, like you go there, one feather in your cap that you wear baseball is you're the first 3-country league in North America, right? Like NFL is 1 country, NHL's 2, NBA's 2, baseball's 2. To say we've now hit 3, we're the first ones to get to Mexico City. Like, I don't think the NHL would ever fly in Mexico City, even though there's talk of could you bring an outdoor game there? NBA could do it, NFL could do it. If you're MLB and you beat those 2 there, and you say we're in Mexico City first.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
No, I think that is a big deal. And again, there's a baseball culture. Look at the games that happened there. It was a major event. All these international games I think are great for sport. The stuff in Europe that's going on in the Far East, and then of course the stuff down in Mexico and Puerto Rico. Like one of the games we did when I was with the Blue Jays was one of the early international games. We went to Puerto Rico. I mean, it really wasn't international, but man, oh man, it was great. It was great. Puerto Rico has an incredible baseball culture, right? And we've had an academy there now we actually had 2 or 3 academies there, Major League developmental academies, for almost 12 years now. But that was my first time to Puerto Rico with the team to play, and we played Texas Rangers. But it was incredible, the support, and I don't know if you could put a team there, but those international games really tell you a lot about the marketplace.
Expos played there for a few games.
Yeah, they did. And have you guys ever flown into Mexico City?
No, my brother did. He got a nosebleed as soon as the pollution hit.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into your brothers right now.
It was Mike. It was the one that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
I love my brothers very much.
The one that nobody talks about.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. We've got some deep talking here. That's a different show, though, I think.
Krush, I am a good older brother.
Yeah.
I love my brothers very much. And care about them.
Good.
Just so everyone's aware.
Awesome. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. All right. Lead with an iron fist kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Flying into Mexico City.
Listen, man, my first time flying in, it was midday, and I'm just flying in. I had a window seat, and I'm looking out the window. I'm going, what in the world am I looking at? It was like New York, man, except bigger. Like it was city forever, right to the curve of the earth. It was just city.
How many people again?
22 million. Don't even have to double check, but it's 20 plus million.
Like,
20.
That's just.
You could have 3, like New York. You could have 3 major league teams there, and they'd probably sell out every game. Honestly.
Yeah, it's a massive humanity.
But the problem, the air quality and stuff. And again, I don't know enough about that. I do know they do have their days when it's tough. But
the city's 9.2, but Metro is 21.8.
Yeah,
like that's just
21.8.
That's 2/3 of Canada, basically. all in one area. That's just not that big, really.
No.
When you're thinking of it, that in Tokyo, you just think it's just utterly insane.
Yeah, it really is. So I think you talk about new races for the F1, and we talk about maybe new stadiums in baseball or hockey or expansion. Mexico and I've been there, and I've been with the baseball people in Mexico. Man, oh man, there is some serious talent there, and that would do a lot for the game.
I have a bunch of texts to get to. Krushell, you're obviously killing it, as always, which is awesome. People are loving it. Let's get to the 780-218-9999, the Paris Jewelers inbox. May I? Or do you want to jump
go
in
ahead.
with it? Krager, this is for those that want to play Torrey Pines. Krager says, my friend just went on a trip and played Torrey Pines. Says it was absolutely underwhelming, not worth the price. The course is very meh, but the staff was the worst part, he said. They paid $400 US, did not get range balls, clubs were washed at the end of the round, etc. So crap treatment. It was a course I would have loved to play myself, but with this info, I'd spend my money elsewhere. Just an FYI from Krager.
Well, one thing you have to remember with Torrey Pines, it is a public course.
Yeah.
It is owned by the city. It's not a private course. It's not that high end. And it's cheap if you're a San Diego resident. It'd be like going to Vic. Their Victoria is Torrey Pines.
Right.
And I think part of it's also kind of when you go. Like, if you can go at the end of December, early January, they're getting ready for, what's the event that's there? Is it Farmers Insurance? Is it that one?
I don't know.
think it might be that one that takes place in January, where they start growing out the rough, and they're getting the condition ready for their big PGA event. That would be the time to go golfing. But that's the one that, like, it's expensive for the out of towners.
Yeah.
But if you're there, and you have to remember, I think it is a public course. So if you're a San Diego resident, you can go play it for relatively cheap. Actually, their twilight hours are quite cheap.
I'd rather spend $100 USD on a really nice course and have good treatment. That's just me.
I would personally, I would love to. I don't care if it'd be that
Sounds
money.
like it.
To say
I would heed
I
Traeger's
went
warning.
and played Torrey Pines South Course, where Tiger Woods won 8 times. That's
and you
all I
shot
care
a
about.
114.
If I shot a 114, I'd be thrilled at Torrey Pines. I'll say that.
I had a great 114. I had 57 putts.
I don't know. I don't know what I would want to
One
shoot
green
there.
in regulation.
If I shot 114, I'd be probably very thrilled at Torrey Pines.
Yeah, for sure.
I kid. Jason LeDuc says, get rid of Monaco. I'm an F1 enthusiast,
Oh,
and
really?
I can't stand that race. The cars have outgrown the track. And then
Golf issue. Golfers out driving courses.
Yeah,
I'm
for
not
sure.
reading that. What Tube Sock sent in a picture. Oh, nice.
What
Look
is
at
it?
that. Top podcast.
Oh, it's his Unwrapped.
Oh, Unwrapped. I
The
see.
Spotify Unwrapped are starting to go out.
Cool.
So, and for those that don't, like, if you're on Spotify, at the December, they do a year in review.
That's right, yeah.
And they send you all, one of the things is usually podcasts. So I was Oil Stream, Two Guys, and Nielsen Show. Those were his
Nice.
top 3.
Yeah. Thank you, Tube
Dynamite.
Socks. We love you.
Yeah.
And it's his handiwork that's on that screen too. Great logos.
Except one of them isn't, and he's not happy about that.
I know. He's he's made that point. Milkman Rob chimes in too about Torrey Pines. Milkman Rob says, I feel the same way about Torrey Pines, way overpriced for what it is. Madeiras was so much better and 1/3 the price.
Tiger didn't win there.
Justin's chirping. Matt, you would not break 150 from the tournament tees. I'd probably be right
I didn't
there.
say I was going to. If
I
I
think
played
it's just a
tournament
chirp.
tees, I'd be thrilled to, like, break 200, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm playing the tournament, you're talking about probably 7,500 yards.
Yeah, that's-
76, 7,700 yards.
Every hole's a par 5.
It's going to take 2 shots to get past the front tees, probably.
Yeah.
If I land in the rough, it's probably going to take me 2 shots to get out of the rough. And that's just, I'm now partway in the fairway and I've hit par.
Yeah.
And now I still have to go the rest of the way. And
Maddie's approach
I'm
is for double
assuming
bogey.
I'm getting on that green, and that green
Yeah.
probably moves pretty quick.
Yeah.
So there's 3 putts every hole. Like, there's a good shot. I'm shooting 10 on every hole. Right there, that's 180. Like,
You're very
Okay,
modest.
that's keeping it real,
Yeah,
man. Good
yeah.
for you, man.
I wouldn't go play tips.
No,
I would
just
want to play my yardage.
put me on the Blues, please.
But
Yeah.
I'll be okay.
I'll go to
maybe.
the whites fully.
I'd
Actually,
be
I should take a look
scared.
at their card.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to quickly pull up what their card is here.
Oh, you're bringing
No.
it up?
Because, like,
You're fired up.
especially when it comes to tournament time,
Yeah.
that rough is thick.
I hate the thick rough. It just eats your club. Oh, yeah. That's tough. That's tough
You're not
stuff.
getting any real contact on the card or on the club. So what course is this one? This is Torrey Pines. I don't know if it's south or north. Tips is 7,800 yards.
7,800?
78.
Is there tips? Then it goes 7,000. Then green is 6,600.
Yeah.
Then white's 6,100 and yellows are 53. I would be playing the 6,100 whites, no question about
Yeah.
it. And again, I don't know if that's north or south. Oh, that might have been north. South tips are 7,600, but south is way harder than north.
Milkman Rob also chimes in. I like this. This kind of brings it home for a lot of golfers. Coffee and Bailey's at Torrey, 22 USD. 5 years ago. F that place.
5 years ago.
Touche, Milkman
Oh,
Rob.
no. Those are.
Go get a beer at SoFi Stadium.
How much is a beer at
It'd be
SoFi?
like 20 some bucks.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
It's expensive everywhere for the drinks at those big events. We could say
Yeah.
Rogers Place is expensive, but it's expensive at all those
But
places
if
right now.
Torrey Pines is supposed to be their Victoria, which sells, I think Victoria does like local beers. I don't know if they have Sea Change or not. But anyway, you can get like our local courses. I think generally the price is $6-7 for a beer.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but if you're San Diego, okay.
Santiago.
Everyone gets, it's like going to Fairmont Jasper. Like Albertan residents get a little cheaper than everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? So, but, okay, it's tea time sell out though. So now I got a bunch of people coming. Of course, I'm going to charge you
They're
for more.
$22 for coffee. Be like, come on.
Yeah, 5
You're
years
paying
ago.
$400 for the round.
Not if you're a resident.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing. So
Yeah.
it's, I just want to go play it once.
Ooh, we're getting more people
gladly do
texting
that.
about Torrey Pines. Jeremy, really quickly. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
go for it.
Jeremy,
I could talk golf all day, Tom.
well,
like I'll never.
Torrey Pines has you fired up, I could see.
Oh, I just would. It's just the course. No one could ruin it for me. It's the fact that if I could ever go play Torrey Pines, just to say I golfed the
Here's
course, that
$1,000
Tiger was
bucks,
amazing.
I'm going,
It's
is
the
what you're
host of a
saying.
U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to go play it one
Okay.
day. It's
So-
it's just the meaning behind the course.
I
I'm okay
respect
with
that.
the price and the experience of all that. The people could be dicks to me all they want. I don't care. Just let me play my 18
You're
holes.
gonna smile and say, thank you, sir, may I have
No,
another?
just leave me alone. Just move away. Let me just golf.
Okay. This one from Jeremy says, I golfed Torrey Pines South just before the Farmers Open in 2018. It was fabulous. I also golfed Twilight after the Jason Day playoff in 2018 for $66.
Wow.
It's
cheap
beautiful.
at Thailand. It's what, but they're like again.
Okay, so that's
you're
a different
down there.
experience.
So like, sun goes down relatively
Yeah.
quick,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
like Twilight starts at like 2:00,
Right.
But you can't golf past 5 or something. So you're not getting 18 in. I don't think generally. I don't know if he was able to, but like when I was
Didn't
going
say.
down to San Diego, looking at trying to get tee times and stuff, and trying to get it cheap or something. It was if you want Twilight, that's generally where there's openings all the time.
Yeah,
and it's a
right.
lot cheaper to get onto.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can do it for a cheaper price.
Yeah.
But if you want to guarantee a full 18, you pay.
That would be cool to do, I admit.
You pay.
And I'd like to experience like the really famous golf courses, but I also am fair weather enough that like if I could get on at a Coyote Lakes in Phoenix for $21 at 1:00 when it's 35 degrees Celsius and sunny outside, that's like heaven to me as well.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like,
No, I'm
I
just
just,
thinking. I'm
it's
just
my experience.
No, I'm just going through bucket list of golf courses for me now. This is
See,
where
I
wanna
love
go.
it. Bucket list, man.
And here's the weird part. Like, I want to go golf Augusta, and the crazy part is there's a chance. Not for most people, but for us,
Go cover it.
You go cover it as media.
And you get in the draw.
And you go into the draw,
Yeah.
and on Sunday they announce who wins, and you could go golf it on the Monday. I just got to go start covering it. I might just start going for EST. I'll book the
you
vacation.
could.
I'll go pay my way there just to try to one day get the draw and win, and then say I golfed Augusta. And that one, I'm shooting 250.
I think
like-
Tichkowski covered and went in the draw, won it, but didn't bring his club, something like that. And then there were a couple. I think
Cam Cole's done
Cam
it 3
Cole,
times.
yeah.
Cam Cole covered it a long time for Canadian newspapers. That if I recall the story correctly, for his 25th year covering or whatever it was, they gave him a pass to bring a buddy as a thank you for covering their tournament.
That's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah.
James Duthie did it a few years ago. I think now he's eligible for the draw again. I remember talking to him this year about it, and he's eligible again, but he didn't bring his clubs this year, so he didn't enter, I don't think. Because once you win the draw, you have to be out of it for, I think it's 7 years till you can get back into the
okay.
draw. Like, you can't go in the draw every year. Once you win, you're out for a while, and then you could get back in.
That's cool. That's a good idea.
Augusta's like right up there for me. I just got to eventually go start covering it.
Yeah.
Go,
do
Matthew.
It. No, do it.
Go forth, young man.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to. Let's get into quickly movers and shakers, which is brought to you by Marco and Mike Realty One Group Insider. Let Marco and Mike earn your trust buying or selling a home. Give Marco and Mike the old PTO contract. Let them prove to you why they're the right guys for the job. MarcoandMike.com for more information. I just want to get back to how this all started with you being in the Middle East, and you were there for Major League Baseball.
No. This
Or
was
was this-
This is for the Canadian Olympic Committee, the coaches of Canada.
Oh.
So what happened is Bahrain Olympic Committee has taken on the Canadian coaching development model. So this started, I think, 5 or 6 years ago. So the first round of coaches are now getting to the level 4, level 5 coaching certification. Canada, everybody can be very proud, has the best coaching development program on the planet. Australia, New Zealand, and UK are now there as well. They've adopted the Canadian program. So they asked me to go there and present the level 4 module for high performance analysis and player and athlete development. So it was 7 days with the Bahrain Olympic Committee's top coaches, just talking shop. Oh, it was right in the wheelhouse because this is all high performance stuff. It was a blast, and these guys are smart. Had an interpreter and got into the culture. My first time in the Middle East. Again, I think I told you guys the farthest I've been with Major League Baseball is Warsaw in Poland. So I've never been in that area before, and it was fantastic. Sport is everywhere, and we've got a lot of work to do everywhere. So it was a great experience for me.
Canadian associations have had a lot of issues. You know, Hockey Canada's having their issues. Canada Soccer is just an utter mess. How is Baseball Canada?
The great.
Like how is that? How is it inside there? Because we don't talk much about Baseball Canada.
No.
World Baseball Classic comes every time we follow the team, and that's it. But how is the actual organization right now?
Here's what I could tell you about Baseball Canada. They've got some brilliant people. It is a tight, small knit group that just steps outside the box. So I can tell you that in Canada, they're probably one of the leading sporting organizations. Every other sport looks to see what are those guys doing right now? Yeah.
It's a relief to hear that we have a functional sporting body.
Yeah. Greg Hamilton was voted to, who's the director of the national teams and coach for the national teams, got a historical award for a Canadian. He was voted as the baseball coach of the year, or I can't remember what the award was last year, but he was recognized by Baseball America as one of the top people in baseball in the world. And that junior national program, I can tell you that Canada has, is probably the best run developmental program anywhere in the world. Probably maybe in almost any sport. For years and years, Greg has been taking the top, 25 to 30 players down to Florida so these kids can play pro teams. We had 15-year-olds pitching against the Yankees and the Blue Jays. And one of the cool things that happened over the years, and I've helped them as long as I possibly can. I think I'm into my 25th year helping Baseball Canada as much as possible.
Wow.
Here's a cool thing that happened, guys. And this is just the beauty of sport. And this is stuff that humbles me all the time. So a couple of Canadian guys, I don't know if I should mention their names. They probably wouldn't mind, but you guys would know who they are. They're playing in the big leagues right now. I get to see and talk to these guys once in a while. And a couple of them I really hadn't interacted with. I know their dads and their parents and stuff, but I hadn't interacted with the kids. But they had gone through the junior national program when I was with the Blue Jays, because that was all, I just wasn't that involved because it was all encompassing. And these guys would take the time over to come over and talk to me and thank me because I built a development program years and years ago. It's a program, an off-season program, just a general guide for Canadian junior national baseball. These guys had followed that program. I had no idea. But how cool is that, though?
Pretty sweet.
And
So we got players in the majors because of you.
No, not because of me.
Well, you're part of it.
Well, yeah, I will say, listen, this Baseball Canada thing, but here's the thing. So get this, guys. So my first time to Sweden with Major League Baseball, we have an academy there in Leksand, Sweden. Beautiful. Incredible.
Well, I never would think, sorry to interrupt quickly, but I never think Sweden for baseball.
Yeah,
but Cam Moom's
Mooner's son Levi
plays over there.
has played pro
it's
baseball
absolutely incredible. When
Stockholm.
Mooner's telling me, like, he's playing in Sweden. Like, what? Sweden?
Very much like Canada, though. All hockey players, right? And these guys play baseball. They're big physical kids, right? That play baseball too. So it was great. But I fly in my first time into Stockholm. I have no idea where I'm going. Of course, they always have a person come meet me at the airport. And so it was a gentleman, my good friend named Tony Klauberg, who was the director of the academy there. He comes up and get my bags and everything. Jeff, how are you doing? He goes, the first thing he says to me, he says, "Hey, tell me about this Baseball Canada program." I'm like, what?
Really?
Yeah. It's the first question they asked. And Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Austria, France, everybody kind of looks to see what Baseball Canada is doing for their junior national program. And of course, they're very close with Major League Baseball because Major League Baseball kind of built this program that I've been involved with for 18 years around that model, trying to get these kids to the point where they can play college and potentially pro. But what Greg has done, what Baseball Canada has done over the years is tremendous for grassroots all the way up. And if you look at their long-term athlete development and the way they go about it, It's fabulous. Now, the one thing that's a little bit different about Baseball Canada is it's not like a governing body, right? It doesn't mandate this, and this. It basically just helps support the provincial organizations and all the independent organizations. And then it just, for the kids that are ready at the time, tries to give them the best opportunity to advance in the game. It's a beautiful thing, guys. It truly, truly is.
So we can keep expecting more Canadians in the majors? Because like growing up for me, there wasn't a lot of Canadians, you know, when it became Morneau and Jason Bay, but now it's like there's a bunch of Canadians everywhere.
Tons. And
is that something we could kind of keep expecting to see more and more Canadians get into baseball?
There's no question about it. But now we're competing now with soccer, and you know we've got basketball. Look, Canada's number 2 for developing NBA basketball players. We're 2 or 3. Venezuela, Dominican are up there per capita. But per capita, if you look at the number of people who actually play baseball in Canada, Canada's a solid number 2 or number 3 for developing Major League Baseball talent.
Wow.
And that's something that people don't realize. Our sporting system is world-renowned developmental-wise. And it all came off of the Vancouver Olympics. That Olympic...
For baseball?
For everything.
I knew...
Because, that was a Winter Olympics.
What was it? Own the Podium. Was a big thing to try to encourage people to get into various sports. But
if
I
you
didn't
look at
realize
Salt Lake City or the Olympics leading up to Vancouver, when Canada got awarded the Vancouver Olympics, things changed internally for our sporting model, and it's been one of the best things that's happened in our sporting system. Prior to that, and again, I'm generalizing here, so take it for what it's worth, but we were kind of very Canadian about it, right? Hey, everybody gets to go and compete at the world stage. Everybody gets a shot at,
And you get a ribbon.
When we got awarded the Olympics in Vancouver, that changed. They said, look, nobody's competing internationally unless they have a legitimate shot to podium. And it was a fantastic change. Very un-Canadian maybe per se at that time, but it was a massive change in the attitude towards sport and sport performance. Now, they do strategically get our young athletes getting experience. Of course, that's just brilliant. So they can understand what it takes. But the investment in high performance sport and for our high performance athletes tripled, quadrupled, I don't know, but it exponentially went up. And what happened since then is all that information has trickled down, and we're now seeing it influence the grassroots level, not just in terms of the science and development models that we have in our coaching programs, but also in terms of the resources and the attitude in sport, right? Which is bode well for Canada. And you look what's happening in soccer Canada, look what's happening in basketball Canada, hockey, of course, always. We got a lot of things to do there. We need to make some really smart adjustments there. Baseball and volleyball and...
Well, it's just like... Look at the Summer Olympics, and before we barely would medal.
Right,
we barely would get anything. Like just even going to 2012 in London, I think we had 1 gold medal. Rosie McClendon on trampoline. That was it.
Right.
And now, like, we're gonna have an Olympics coming up this upcoming summer, and it's okay. How many golds are we getting? Not which gold can we get a gold. It's how many. What's gonna happen with our women in the pool? How good are they gonna be on the track? We're doing some good things. Now we've got basketball. We're gonna have the women's soccer. Yes, they've qualified. They're going to be there. And it's just like, there's a lot of different chances for us to go get medals, where before it was, hopefully we can get one.
Right.
Hopefully we could hear the anthem once, now it's okay. Well, maybe we're going to hear it 5-6 times at a Summer Olympics.
There's
not the winter, the summer.
Yeah, there's an assault on getting medals. We are deliberately working to win. And that's beautiful.
I don't know if you would know this. Is it like we dominate hockey?
Yeah.
Have we seen some people that would maybe historically go to hockey not go and go to other sports, and we've spread the athletes across all sports now?
No, I think that's happening for sure. And a lot of that is socioeconomical, of course, right?
Yeah.
We know there's that variable there, especially the way with the Canadian populations going right now with the immigration and people coming in who aren't familiar with our winter sports. So that is changing for sure. And that's where soccer is such a great outlet. But here's the deal, man. We need to let kids self-select what sport they go into. That's something that's missing now as we get into this early specialization. And I'm telling you, early specialization is a big, big problem in sport. With the greatest of intentions, you want the best for your daughter or your son, so you go all in. But it does not work. It rarely works, and the numbers are out there. I can share the numbers with you guys. If you look at, there was a study done in 2019 on NCAA athletes, okay, and I'm going to pull this number out. It's accurate. accurate. It's within a couple. But when they looked at all of the NCAA athletes, Division I, 94.6, I think is the exact number, were multi-sport athletes up to the age 14 or 15. So
we had this conversation.
I think we
before,
did, right? So playing these multiple sports is so important, and letting athletes self-select into individual sports like golf or team sports like hockey or soccer or football or whatever it might be, right? So we're in a good place in Canada right now,
See, and I want Canada to stay as the best hockey nation in the world. There's no
without question.
But I'm okay not just dominating every tournament, lowering our top level a little bit if that means we're now competitive in other sports too.
Yeah, I don't think
Right?
that has to happen though.
You don't think?
No, I don't. Not the way we're going about it. I mean, if things hold the way they are, that pipeline that goes into Hockey Canada, right? And then they are dealing with some monsters right now, right? Of course, and they need to. Like they got to get that ship. They got to get that ship on track.
But when it comes to development of players and all of that,
yes, there's no question, man. There's enough. The talent pool is big enough that we can still maintain some of the.
Well, I'm okay. Is Canada still the best?
Yeah,
but. I don't need Canada to go into every hockey tournament and roll every country 8-0.
No.
I'm okay winning 3-1 hockey games if that means that maybe a couple top athletes didn't choose hockey,
or
they chose basketball, or they chose baseball, or they chose another sport where we can, like when Bianca Andreescu won the U.S. Open. That was awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
We had a Canadian win a major tennis tournament, the individual side of it, men's or women. That was really cool.
Tennis Canada is another great example. Look at the world class athletes that Canada is now producing, and there's more coming. And there's going to be a lull with our population, right? Yeah. It's going to roll for a little bit until that base comes up. But that's an incredible example. If you look what they've done, the soccer team, if you look what they've done, but probably most recently, if you look at what Basketball Canada has done in terms of their player development with the pro guys, their national team guys, and their development team guys, they're keeping them all together. It's just smart, and it works. So fun times. And that's why countries like Bahrain, I think we got guys over in Singapore right now. Everybody's trying to go, what in the world is Canada doing? Now, what Canada's saying, what we're saying, we're looking at Norway going, with 5.4 million people, how are you crushing every nation on the planet at the Winter Olympics?
Yeah.
And it's, the Nordic sports, of course, but
they're Vikings.
Yes.
But that's the thing. It's the population thing.
It's
when you're a country of, I think we're now at 40 mil.
Yeah.
There's only so many athletes you're going to be able to produce because there's only so many people that there are. You know, we're not the US of 350, and it's like people looking at Iceland and them, having a team that, was at the Euros having really well, or Croatia getting to 2 Final Fours in the final World Cup with a population of like 4 million people. It's like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
And it's just like in Norway, I think that's a great point where
they're doing something special.
To beat, yes, they may be a Nordic region, but so is Canada. Like, we're a winter nation.
They're crushing
Canada, Russia. US, they're beating us. They're beating Russia when they're there. They're even while they're doping. They're beating Sweden.
When they're always doping.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They're able to do it. And it's cool watching the littler countries do things. Like you expect, the Summer Olympics, you expect the US, you expect China, you expect England to do well.
Yeah.
You expect Australia to do well. But to see some of the other countries come in, it's awesome.
Yeah, it is
I
awesome.
enjoy that.
That's what I also
Crusher,
love.
I'm excited because you're excited.
Listen, I'm telling you, man, it's a beautiful place to be, this world of sport, right? We still have a ton of work to do, don't get me wrong, but man, we're doing some good things, some really good things.
That was Movers and Shakers, brought to you by Marco and Mike Realty One Group Insider, marcoandmike.com. For more information, if you're looking to buy or sell your home, or even if, look, you might not be doing it right now, maybe a few months from now, give Marco and Mike a try. Matt Iwanyk, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Reset.
Go Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Jeff Krushell with you here on the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato. Caesar available in both original and variety 12-packs. What were you going to say?
You've got people stirred up about Torrey Pines, Augusta,
What did I do to stir people up?
In a good way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought people are mad at me. I was like, what did I do to get...
No.
Today I felt I've been good. I've been on my best behavior.
In a good way, which is nice. Beef Nips has offered to be your camera guy, and he would pay his way to Augusta.
I love it. That's a team approach, man. That's awesome.
Well, we are on YouTube and stuff, so I need a videographer and stuff. So it's a team of 2, and we'll head down.
Beef Nips is your guy. What an offer.
That's awesome.
Right?
That would be a great place to go. And just what everyone says who's ever been to Augusta, it's more beautiful in person than it is on TV.
Apparently-
they say as you drive up, it's just stunning.
They redid the clubhouse, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. It's immaculate. Obviously, private course and all that, but and it has
With high fees.
high fees. And
Yeah, yeah.
It's history with what? We'll just leave that at that. But a hot dog, pop, beer, very well priced. Like you get like a sandwich for like $2 or $3.
Do you know why? Kind of.
Do tell.
It's an arrogance thing. That's
Yeah?
the way I look at it.
Yeah,
is
you
that
think so?
we don't need your money. Come, like, we're welcome to our course once a year. Now the merch shop is expensive as heck, but come once a year, we're good. We've got our money. We don't need your money. Here, have a beer for $5. Have at it. You know, you want a pimento sandwich for $1.50? Well, of course, here you go. Have at it. We're good. Your money's not good here. You know, like it has that sense of it.
Yeah.
There's an arrogance to it. It's
Yeah.
like it's the same as if you win the draw for tickets. Tickets aren't that expensive.
You just need to win.
But it's the secondary market. That's where the prices shoot up. But I
wanna-
don't think tickets are that expensive actually. If you are lucky enough to win the draw,
You want a pork missile at the turn? $3.
There you go.
And it's a nice Nathan's pork
and I
missile.
always look at that as just because they have so much money that it's like we don't.
It might be part of that, yeah.
Like when they had their issues over the years of not letting women into membership.
Yeah, and didn't
sponsors would like be like,
Wasn't
we're not
there
going to run commercials,
segregation
and
too?
they're just like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, we'll run without commercials.
Yeah.
We're good. Because they don't like their deal with CBS is also a year. It's never been opened, but what it's reported to be is Augusta National's deal with CBS is a 1-year deal every year.
Wow.
They get them 1 year,
Wow.
and it's only like there's very few commercials that are run. It's Rolex. I can't remember who else is on there, and it's a one. So like that's why CBS was never in those years really hard on them because they could always go, oh, you're gonna rip us.
We'll go over to NBC or
Hey, your deal's up after
ABC.
this year. Let's go see what we're going to do about
Yeah.
that.
It's
so they're
good
too
to
scared
be
to do
king.
that. And they
Yeah.
are utter king. And there's a bad to that, obviously, you know,
Clearly.
especially with everything that happened with the segregation initially and
Yeah.
then not allowing women in. Now they've gone past that, but there's also there's that arrogance that they have, and very few get that. Augusta gets that.
Yeah. Wow. That's
hoity-toity.
Without question.
yeah.
And again, it's like anything else too. Don't like the people running Augusta that much. Don't like FIFA. Don't like the IOC. You
Yeah.
know the people, but still, it's the Masters.
Yeah. Right.
Good point.
It's just that week of the year is one of the best weeks every single year.
Fair point.
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. I had a buddy that went there.
Oh, yeah?
And he's golf pro. And he said he enjoyed the tournament and everything, but the grounds. He said he couldn't believe. He said there wasn't a blade of grass that wasn't cut.
That would actually be really fun to go just see them prepare the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And follow that around. It's the same as like me and Yukon Jack have had this discussion many times before. Going to see a wrestling show and how the production of putting it on TV.
That'd be amazing.
Like for the most part,
Behind the scenes stuff?
all of that. For the most part, now this is a little general take of it, but for the most part, you don't see a camera on screen unless they want you to see a camera on screen because
Yeah.
something's going to happen type
Yeah.
thing. Like to go behind the scenes of a show of like WrestleMania and see how they put that on would be amazing.
I agree.
That'd be a bucket list
Like,
type thing, which
yeah,
I don't
it
know
would
how
be.
you'd get that, but that would be
yeah.
a lot of fun
The
to watch.
technology in WWE, like remember the old Titantron and it was like the massive screen.
yeah.
Now like there's screens everywhere. There's like little LED strips in the corner of HD LED strips in the corner at the turnbuckle, and you're like, oh my goodness, this looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's weird throwing on wrestling when you don't watch it for a long time
Yeah.
and you see that the change that they've gone through.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, WrestleMania, if anyone hasn't seen any clips of WrestleMania of the last, let's say 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
go find a clip and you will be amazed at what their show looks like now.
The Undertaker's farewell, I think it was in Tampa was it SummerSlam? Something like that. Just his entrance was epic. It was like a 7-minute walk to the
Yeah.
ring.
I love it.
And I
love
was,
how
I
long-
was,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
crying by the end of it.
And you're watching every second
Yeah.
of it and you're just into it, and it's like you're not like grabbing your phone or anything, you're just watching.
love you,
and this
Undertaker.
one guy walk as slow as possible to the ring.
Yeah, to death music.
Yeah.
You know, like,
But it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, at the same time.
You, Undertaker. I can't believe it's over.
Oh, have you been to A live event?
Oh, I've seen. I've never been to Raw. That's the only thing I've never seen. I've seen a SmackDown, I've seen a House, and I've seen a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I've
man.
never.
And
been
they're
to one.
really fun.
The only one I went to was in Edmonton here. I
Yeah.
took my little brother because he was one of those kids that took a cardboard box, made a ring,
Yes,
had
sir.
all the action
The
figures,
rubber, the big rubber ones, like Macho Man.
with
yeah.
bungee
Hogan.
cords for ropes and stuff.
Yeah.
He made this thing. He was a huge, and it was at the age of the Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, Fuge the Stooge. So we actually saw those guys at Northlands. I took my little brother. Me and one of my buddies from high school took my little brother, and it was awesome. Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, the Ultimate Warrior, and my little brother.
Oh, Ultimate Warrior would be great to have seen.
It was awesome, man.
The
And
running to the ring.
Oh yeah,
Just
it was great, and of course, he was into it. I watched with him
Yeah.
once in a while,
Yeah.
but he was in, and he's there yelling, "Fuge the Stooge, Fuge the Stooge," and he's screaming with everybody. It was awesome, and that was way back in the day, right? But
that's-
it's super. Like
So Joe Balaneski in the chat. By the way, Ben also says Jeff Krushell is one of the best guests on any show.
I agree.
Jim then saying one might say he's been crushing it. Sorry, I have to say it. But Joe Balaneski
Shake
saying
and bake crusher.
WrestleMania this year, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Entrances were timed at almost 16 minutes.
Yeah, man.
Roman's was over 9 minutes.
Hey, former Edmonton Eskimo,
Yes.
Roman Reigns.
I think he
it.
was he 99?
No, like 2008.
No, jersey
Oh,
number.
Yeah, his number. Yeah, he only
think
played
it
a
was.
handful of games.
Yeah. But yeah, 16 minutes for just watching them walk out.
But
Also, it's such a long ramp
Exactly.
now because they only go to stadiums.
Yeah.
And so by the time where they set the stage and where the rink is,
and the production on these things, like I said, I went back and I watched the Undertaker's final entrance for his farewell, and it was so epic, and I was sad by the end of it because I'm like, this is it. Undertaker's done, but I've seen him pop up a few times.
They always do.
recently, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was, and he had his old look with the hat.
So were you
and the
emotional?
gloves.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay, see that
like, oh,
that's
sad.
the beauty of that thing, right?
Yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
That's incredible to me, man.
Yeah, and I completely glossed over his American Badass
Yeah.
motorcycle phase because I thought that was it.
that WrestleMania was in Toronto.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
like
he
that.
had the motorbike
Yeah.
and he'd zoom out. It was
Yeah.
a weird one.
It was.
There was nothing like the Dead Man.
The Dead Man, yeah,
when he
and-
came out with that music.
and Crush, it was the music,
It's
the
all of that.
bell.
Did they have any pallbearer or guys with fire or something standing out, or was it just him?
of fire? I don't know if there was little minions
Okay.
running around, but the smoke and
Yeah.
the whole stadium, what they can do, like you said, with the lighting and stuff. And he's just the eyes. He did the eyes,
That's
and then the boom, 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 all the pyro that comes with it, and I'm just like, oh, this is amazing.
What a
This is-
show.
Oh, and all the memories to back in the day. Yeah, it was epic, and it was emotional
Yeah.
because. And you think back to when you're a little kid and you're watching, and you'd be scared shitless watching the Undertaker. Be like, is he really a zombie? Because you're 6 years old and you're in first grade and you're watching Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan, and you see him do the eyes rolled back, and it's
creepy.
It was creepy
When you're a kid.
Oh, man.
and you're like, what is Paul Bearer's deal? That guy is weird. He's so weird. Is he dead? I don't know. And because you don't know any better because you're just a little kid and you're learning. You're in your formative years, and so I started thinking back to all those years, and then the Attitude Era, and when Kane came in, and I'm like, man, it's really over for the Undertaker. So yeah.
See, that is just awesome to me, right? So I remember watching Stampede Wrestling, right?
Of course.
So, but I never had a chance to, maybe it's just the way it was, to get into it. But I got into it because my little brother loved it. I loved it because he loved it so much. He knew the storylines. He knew
Yeah.
the actors. He knew even the tertiary players of this big theater that was just awesome. But he knew the storylines and the history of the guys. And it's pretty cool if you think about what it's all about. It's like a storybook almost,
It's
right?
a soap opera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every little boy watched wrestling at one point.
Yeah.
Everyone loved it.
Yeah.
Now, some will say, I grew out of it, and that's cool. People still love it. It's great. But everyone at one point got into it.
Yeah.
Just straight up. And it was I got it. My sister-in-law once. I remember I said that to her, and she's like, "My brothers never watched it." And I was like, "Oh, I guarantee you they did. I guarantee." She's like, "No, they never did." So she texted them, and they were like, "Yeah, I watched it. Of course I watched it." I was like, "Because that's what happened. You grew up and you watched it. That was our soap opera.
Yeah.
It was so much fun and." Raw is war for me back in the late 90s, early 2000s on TSN.
I love it.
It was just 7 o'clock, I think, 2 hours at the time.
Oh my gosh.
But here's the thing I also say, like, when you pay for a boxing fight or you pay for a UFC fight, there's no guarantee that you're going to get, like, a match could be over, snap of
One
finger,
punch,
knockout, it's
Yeah.
over. Wrestling, I've always said, like, when it comes to their main pay-per-views, like, it comes to WrestleMania. When you pay for that, it may be $75 an hour or whatever it is, $100 nowadays. I don't know.
Is it that expensive?
I'm guessing 75. That's if you pay for WWE TV or whatever.
Yeah.
It's part of it, I think.
Okay.
But I don't know what like just the one pay-per-view costs anymore.
I don't know.
But you get a guaranteed 4 hours of entertainment.
Yeah.
It's going that entire time, and now maybe the fights aren't great, maybe the entertainment is as great, but they're gonna fill 4 hours.
Yeah.
It's not over quick. There's no filling time. They've planned this as a show, and that's what makes it the entertainment part great.
Remember when you would watch it on cable, like a TSN back in the day or whatever, and they would go to commercial in match?
Yes.
I would always wonder when they came back and things were a little bit different. I'm like, I wonder what happened during the commercials. Like those
Right? No,
innocent
totally.
questions that you would have as a kid that didn't know better.
It was rare, but I loved throwing on Raw or something, and all of a sudden at a house show the week before, a title change happened. And like, how did the title change?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
where did this happen from? And it was at a house show. And it's very rare that ever happens. But when that happened, it was so weird that they would have a title change at a house show.
Yeah.
But they'd do it.
Yeah, you'd be
Curveball.
like, pardon me? Who's the champion now? Intercontinental
Yeah.
champion? What happened?
Awesome.
The hardcore championship.
Yeah.
That one was a fun one. Oh, I miss those days though. Like it's I don't know if like it would be the same. It's not going to be from what
I don't know, but
we
the production
saw.
is amazing though. Like it really is.
Oh no, they're on to
That
something
side
for
of it,
sure.
yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, just look at this. Well, look at the following.
Yeah.
So pay-per-views, according to Joe, it's anywhere between $60 and $70.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And unless you have the WWE Network, which then they're included in, and the WWE Network is $15 a month, which I just want to do and go relive those late 90s,
you know
early
who
2000s
works for them
a
now?
little bit.
Jackie Redmond.
Does she?
Yeah. She's like a ringside reporter.
Well, there was that Renee Paquette.
Yeah.
She was Canadian. She worked at the Score for
Yes,
a bit.
and Jackie worked with
and
her
then
at the Score.
she became huge with WWE.
I know. I remember I worked for the Score part-time before I got to CTV Edmonton, I think it was. And I went to go visit my assignment editor. I got a tour of the studios, and Renee Paquette was recording a show, like not even live, just to tape. And my assignment editor, who's like a big deal there, she's like, "Oh, we can't go in. Renee's recording." And I'm like, "Are you serious right now? Like, you can't have one person in studio while you're recording?" She's like, "No, she doesn't like it." And I'm like, I was disappointed. But to each their own. How
Some
you
people
go
can't
about
do it.
Some
people
can't
get
do it.
rattled with
Yeah.
things. Other
Yeah.
people, like it was always funny. 1260, I could throw anything at JMO's way.
Yeah.
We'd have the maintenance guy. I'm like, we need to look at something.
him in.
And I'd be like, yeah, come during JMO's show. JMO will be cool. I'll just give him a quick heads up. And
Yeah.
JMO's doing a show and there's a ladder coming in. Two people are looking at something and moving ceilings around. And Dave's just delivering the show because
Yep.
he's a pro.
That's-
He's one of those people that could just handle anything. Other people would get completely rattled and
Yes.
just alarmed. And so when I knew when at 1260, when we needed to do something happen, had to be during the day, it was always 12 to 2. When JMO's around, we're good. He's got it.
But
love
like
it.
I learned that from Gene Principe too. Like Gene, there could be a circus going on behind the camera and he's just fine.
Oh yeah, he's a
Yeah.
pro.
And I was like,
Yeah,
well, if
yeah.
he can do it, you know, that's not a big deal.
I worked a little bit with Kevin Karras. He filled in for Mark Spector when Mark Spector had a
Right,
show there.
KK,
the
yeah.
one thing I loved about KK was there'd be a talk back that you could talk to, a producer could talk to the host without anyone hearing
Yeah.
it. And for a lot of people, like you'd have to try to plan when you could tell someone something because it would mess with their train of thought. You try to get a pause, or if a guest's on when the guest's talking so you can get your message. With Kevin, because he's from TV,
Yeah.
where they're always talking in your ear.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, tell me whenever. And you could
Yeah.
just, he could be
Yeah.
mid
That's a
sentence
talent,
talking about
man.
something, and you could just go in and be like, yeah, that person, or tell him whatever he needs to know, and he'd just crush it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't miss a beat with what he's saying, but then also picking up the info you're giving
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah.
That
Yeah.
I always found was
That's a
that's
skill.
crazy. That's a skill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a
I don't know if Dusty can do that fully yet, if he's there.
I'm sure. Yesterday on Bozone, we had like a little snafu in the control room, and we just rolled with it. And couldn't tell.
Sometimes you have to.
Couldn't tell.
Well, that's it's fun.
I don't think you could.
Teaching interns or new employees, like
Yeah.
you're gonna screw up
It happens
90% of the time. No one's actually gonna know. Our screw ups, no one knows.
unless we point it out.
Like,
but
well, that's the thing,
Yeah.
and it's just like unless we go off the air, like then yeah, people are
Yeah.
gonna know that one.
right.
true.
So
But the Renee Jackie connection, I'm sure, because they had a podcast together, and I think probably through Renee and Jackie working together at the Score probably helped
Helped.
Jackie get the WWE gig. She's still doing NHL and I think some NHL
because she's
on
on
TNT.
that. I've seen her on that like NHL.
NHL Now. That's the show.
That's
When
the
I
show,
pop on, I go on that show with Jackie. So she's awesome. I love her. She's awesome.
Norman
so.
at Combine saying Jackie's a big time at WWE apparently.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like,
That's the
she's
big leagues, right?
And
She's a
Renee is in
sweetheart.
AEW now because
Oh.
her husband works there from Joe.
Oh wow. Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Everything's just changing. I'm so out of loop with all that stuff.
Yeah.
I just know that
That's the big leagues, though. Good for them.
That's
CM
Hey.
Punk came back this
Yeah.
weekend to WWE and it was a big
I
deal.
saw that,
Apparently,
yeah.
like a massive, massive deal. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Jeff Krushell with you here in the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. You can get an original, you can get an pickled bean, or you can get extra spicy. They're all great. Although Dusty can't have the extra spicy because he doesn't like spice. Shohei Ohtani to the Jays. Wow, what would that do to the Jays? Like, I don't think it's going to happen still, but only 3 teams were mentioned with him.
Yeah.
And the Jays were one of them.
Which
it
was
wasn't the
interesting.
Yankees. It
Yeah.
wasn't the Red Sox. It wasn't the Cubbies. It was the Jays.
It's my number one offseason follow, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's going to happen? And I was, man, oh man, I was looking at this $700 million contract somewhere, and then he gets hurt. I'm going, what's that going to do for the length of the contract and for the size of the contract? But now to see things starting, the dust is starting to settle. There's going to be something happening pretty darn soon. I don't know what it's going to be, but the fact that the Jays are in the mix, period, is very interesting to me
Why?
because I just don't think that's a place that he would want to go.
Yeah, well, like, why would Toronto appeal? Like,
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I would think that,
Is it this-
after leaving the mess that's in Anaheim, right, with all the turmoil there from ownership right down, I would think he would look for somebody who's really, really set up to contend. And I don't know if the Blue Jays are quite there yet. You know what I mean?
but what happens if Ohtani's there? Does that
Well,
not bump him up?
and there it is. So obviously there's some very cool things going on maybe behind the scenes, and obviously these discussions are deep,
Yeah.
and they're serious because this is not a little move for Ohtani, and of course it's going to be a massive
for any ownership.
Exactly, it's going to be a massive commitment.
and he can't pitch next year, right?
He's off for at least a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think. I don't think he could pitch next year.
No, probably not.
Because it was Tommy John.
Yeah, if he ever pitches again, right? Honestly.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, like.
Is that because he should just focus on one at some point?
I think
Or
that's-
is that
I think that window is closing. That dual role
Yeah.
window is closing. But again, we've never seen this before. So at this level, so maybe it's possible. I'm hoping we see more of it. I just don't see why we wouldn't, right? Because players can. Unfortunately, in the developmental model, man, we isolate pitchers. They never step in the cage. An injury, and I get all that stuff, but I think there's an opportunity here for young players who really want to create an avenue for themselves. On R.A. Dickey, for example, man, learn that knuckleball because you never know. Hey, he had a great career,
he did?
right?
And a late one
A
because
late
of it.
one, and that was an adjustment. But having the versatility of going both ways just opens up opportunity for players. So anyway, I don't know, but man, this is going to be fascinating. This is the part of sport that I love right now because we've got the player performance side down, right? From the physical standpoint, we've got this down. We know this stuff, in terms of tactics and team play, that's a different thing. But organizational performance now fascinates me. The Oilers, again, our number one team to watch this year in the NHL, of course, not just because we're in Edmonton, but I'm talking hockey as a whole. Look what's happening there with the greatest talent, right? So to see where Ohtani goes is going to be game changing.
Crusher. Oh, go. I was just gonna say, as a strength and performance guy, knowing athletes and their bodies, and Ohtani going through the Tommy John, like, what would your professional opinion be with someone so special and his ability to be a pitcher and to hit and play the field the way he does when he does play the field? How would you go about handling him and guiding him for the future of his career after such a huge surgery?
Yeah, well, he's at a point in his career, right? And as players develop and grow in the ebb and flow of development, like he's at a point where, okay, again, he might still be able to pitch for a while, but there's going to be a point where I think he's going to have to focus at the end of his career, maybe become like a Edgar Martinez, like an epic DH or something, right? Because he can just hit so well. So he's got that going for him. But I mean, to manage a position player and pitcher, that is an incredible challenge, right? I mean, it's an incredible challenge. And I think one of the big misses there was, if you look at, he throws right, hits left, and if you watch his follow through when he swings, that arm comes through on the bat, and you overlay that with him pitching, it's the exact same arm slot. So if you watch, after his elbow started getting sore, he was two hands on the bat immediately. It was an immediate change. And I think he might have survived a bit longer had he had a two-handed follow through. Because of the stress that it provided. But I think for him right now, the focus for me, if I was helping him out, would be just pure, he doesn't need to get better. He just needs to avoid injury, right? And so we get veteran players coming in. It doesn't matter what the sport is. The priorities change. Sometimes we can always look for ways to improve. Doesn't matter if it's a 30-year-old 15-year vet of a sport, but there's a time where the priorities change. You look at Joey Votto, might be a great example right now. The way this guy is so in tune and evolving his game because he knows physically he's not who he was, changed his game. So there's a great analogy I heard one time. And this is from a world-class pianist, a piano player. And he said, look, as I got older, I realized that I was getting a bit slower, right? So he just sort of deceived everybody and just played faster, right? So he increased his speed of play so it didn't appear like he was slowing down. And for these players, the focus for Ohtani now probably isn't going to be so much, getting better, but injury prevention.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better in sport than a 5, or depending on your staff now, a 6-day rotation of a starting pitcher. It's the most beautiful thing in all of sport. NFL might be a close second.
I knew that was the right question to ask you.
Yeah. No, but so when I was down.
Solid work there, Tommy.
Yeah. When I was down with the Angels 2 springs ago, I got to actually sit there and talk with him. He has his own program, right? And the strength guys are great. I mean, internally, the staff is phenomenal. But Ohtani had his own program, and they just supported him in it.
Right.
He knew exactly what he was doing, and he followed through. I'm wondering if maybe a little intervention there, if he were to allow it, would have maybe changed things a bit. I don't know that, but you have these experts around for a good reason.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So
I thought, like, when it just comes into to go to Toronto, like, the one thing is with the NBA, like when Giannis Antetokounmpo was potentially going to be a free agent early, it was Toronto would be a place because there's a connection to Masai and it's very global, Toronto. And I wonder if maybe there's that. Like, I don't know if maybe it's like Ohtani looks at it and is like, I could go dominate, a $40 million country. They'll love me. That entire country is going to love me.
yeah,
And then maybe that's the reason Toronto would be.
Maybe
It's just, in the Raptors, you hear sometimes they're in that conversation because of Masai, and just there's a global connection for Toronto, people think. And you don't get that in baseball too often, but
yeah,
we just having them in the conversation right now and not the other big money clubs is
profile-wise, it would be
crazy.
the biggest thing to happen to the Blue Jays since I don't know what, right?
Roger Clemens.
Clemens, maybe.
Well, I think
Did you work with him?
Yeah, he was there. He was there just when I came in.
Okay.
So I was in the minor leagues when he was in the big leagues, but yeah, I was around him, man. And guess what? He, again, despite all the other crap, let's just forget about the crap. His work ethic was epic. And Pat Henkin was there as well. Another unbelievable influence on these young pitchers coming up that I was working with. And right behind them was, of course, Halladay and Carpenter, Escobar, all these great pitchers that came up and just watched what the best pitchers in the game were doing. It was phenomenal.
Now, David Wells' work ethic?
David Wells was special. No, listen to
I'm
Boomer.
teasing.
No, Boomer. Yeah, he didn't have a work ethic. You know, you talk to him now. We should get him on the show. But there was a reason for that, right? His back was destroyed. And this was just as he got traded from us to Chicago, he had massive back problems. The only thing I could get him to do that wasn't painful was the recumbent bike, sitting on the bike pedaling, because his back was gone, and he knew a surgery might be a career-ending thing.
Right.
But it got to the point where he could not. So he got traded to Chicago, and later that he had the back surgery, and later that year he was rehabbing. We were in Chicago playing the White Sox, and Boomer was there, so we went over and saw him. I went over and saw him, and he was on the table with the doctors. They showed me the x-rays. The doctor was there, the surgeon was there. He says, I don't know how this guy actually stood on the mound, leave alone pitched. How is it possible?
Wow.
Well, listen, I get it now, man, because my back, I had the same thing. The intervertebral disc was gone. I've never experienced anything more painful. So Boomer, man, I'm telling you what, such a special character, man. Like, he really behind
Baseball
the scenes
has those.
Oh, beautiful!
Just unlike any other sport, almost.
But his background. If you read about his background, where he came from, how he grew up, it's pretty interesting. But such a good dude behind the scenes, teammate wise. Oh yeah, man.
He'd be fun.
Oh, so much
from
fun.
the outside. You could tell that's a guy that wants to have fun.
I like that guy.
He walks into the clubhouse one day, with Mr. T. Hey guys, Mr. T's here, right? Next time he comes, it's Meatloaf. I got my Meatloaf CD signed.
No way.
Because Meatloaf was hanging out with us for a couple of days because he's buddies with Boomer, right? Then we go to Saturday Night Live in New York. Bernie's center fielder.
Bernie Williams.
Bernie Williams is playing guitar with the band on Saturday. We had an off day in Saturday in New York. So Boomer was with David Cohn and a couple other guys on the set. They were doing some skit. So we got in and we're at Saturday Night Live with these guys. Just cool stuff, man. But a really, really good dude. And if you look what he's doing now in California, I think he's built a ballpark for kids, and he's coaching and oh man, and people see the media side of Boomer. Great story. You guys want to hear a great story? Do we have time?
We have. Of course.
Listen to me. This is maybe one of my favorite experiences in sport, and this has to do with the media. So David's back was really getting bad, and we're trying to help and manage it day to day. And I'm talking day to day, man. In 5 days, he's got to pitch again, and it was amazing. And he started gaining a little bit of weight. And I won't say the name of the reporter, okay? But you can go online right now, Google this, and you'll see Boomer on the front page of one of the major newspapers, and it talks about his fat guy pitching or something like this,
Yes.
right? Oh my goodness. And this is one of the regular Blue Jay reporters. Can you imagine this, right? And so I was choked. Like, I'm going, what? Because, man, listen, that market there in Toronto is like the hockey market here in Edmonton. Like, it is just...
Well, from the hockey side, it was Phil Kessel had a hot dog at a hot dog stand every day going home, according to one writer, right?
Yeah, right.
They'll find a story and they'll go with it.
Yeah. So Boomer goes out and pitches, has a blowout game, man. I think like 7 scoreless innings. We win I think he went 8 innings. He had 7 scoreless. We win like 9-0. I can't even remember who we were playing. He had a great game, man. I was just so happy because you were watching with every pitch, right? And afterwards, the scrum. And of course, boom, he's sitting there at his locker and there's like 100 reporters around, right? He's not saying a thing. The media guys go, Boomer, let's go. He says, I'm not starting yet. He would not start until the reporter came who put that on the paper. And that was after his last start.
Yep.
So this reporter comes in and David stands up and says, I'm not blankety blank 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 until this blankety blank 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 is out of that blankety blank blank effing clubhouse. I'm not saying a word. And everybody's looking at this dude. Get the hell out of here, man.
Wow.
We got to talk to Boomer. He wouldn't say a word. He
wanted to tell him to get out.
He did not say a word until that reporter was escorted out of the clubhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And I go, Boomer. Yes.
Damn.
I loved it because that was bullshit reporting. So sorry.
That's okay.
That's the first time I think I've ever heard you swear.
Sorry, man. That one got me mad. That was one because we had great relationships with the media, right?
Yeah.
But that was the one time I was totally and utterly disappointed in media reporting. I was actually angry. Because they have no idea what was going on with him behind the scenes and what was happening, right?
But that's a way to sell papers. And,
No, for sure.
And that is a tactic.
Yeah.
And some journalists, especially back in the day when that was kind of when papers were a big thing, that's how you do it.
Yeah,
you were
I would
crap
rather.
disturber.
I get it,
But
man.
that generally would be a columnist, not a beat reporter, right?
Yeah,
Not
maybe.
somebody who's in there every day.
This is a regular.
Yeah, and that's the bold part. Like
Yeah.
I would say, because the
you can have
call.
a columnist that's in there every day too.
No, but like I'm assuming this person goes on the road and all
Yeah,
of
I
that.
don't want to say his
and
name
it's-
No, no,
because it was.
we'll save it for
The
off
thing I
Yes.
love about David Wells, and I just had to double check it, is that when he threw the perfect game, he claims that he had a raging, skull-rattling hangover. And he threw the 15th perfect game in history. And it's that it's just like, yeah, that's awesome. That's David Wells. That's how I want to picture him.
Had a
A guy
bottle
that
of
goes
bourbon
out
the
there,
night before.
throws a perfect game, but did so completely hungover. That's my athlete.
That's my guy.
You know, like that's
That's
and
my
that's
guy.
the stories about, because who's the guy that pitched on like LSD and stuff?
What?
Oh yeah.
There was which pitcher was
Didn't
that?
like the Oakland
my
A's have like
goodness.
vials
There's-
of cocaine in their pocket while they were
the
running
story,
bases,
the
like
Mets
Ricky
and
Henderson?
stuff.
Daryl
the
Doc
Strawberry.
Ellis.
The terrible stories way
Doc
back
Goodwin?
in the day.
Doc Ellis.
Doc
Doc
Ellis.
Ellis.
He had something that happened with I think LSD.
No,
Can't remember what he
boomer,
threw.
man. Oh no, the characters in the game. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
beauty
he
of
threw
it
a
all.
no-hitter.
Yeah.
He used LSD 2 or 3 times, thinking it was still a Thursday. This is from Wikipedia. He took a hit of LSD on a Friday at noon. He thought it was Thursday, and he had a pitch that night. So he pitched a no-hitter on LSD.
Oh, my God.
David Wells hung over, you know. It's there's an old, like this is like
Kids, don't do drugs.
no.
Drugs are bad.
But like the 1900s, and these are just the characters of baseball. There's a guy, Rube Waddell, and he was known for having very short attention span.
Okay.
And a fire truck would like drive by, and he'd be distracted.
Right.
Like that's the story. Like those are the characters of baseball.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
that you can go from a guy that completely gets distracted, runs off chasing a fire truck because it goes by the baseball stadium, to guys, you know, having a hangover, pitching perfect games, and everything in between and stuff. And it's just
Wild.
this is the
Yeah.
beauty of baseball.
Yeah.
that comes with.
yeah. No, Boomer was great, and he was a great teammate
That's
too.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad I asked you about it.
he was one of those great clubhouse guys. I love him. I love him to death, man.
But
Yeah.
they had a great rotation in the late 90s.
my
Halliday
gosh,
was still a work in progress. Clemens, Henkin, Wells for a bit. Juan Guzman, I think, was still kicking around a little bit.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
But they just could never put it together. And the Yankees were at the top of their game at that
Yes,
time.
they were. Yes, they were.
You guys were great.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys were great. No, it was
Those were
it's such a-
those teams that got me into getting baseball into the
Right,
Yankees.
right,
Was
right.
like Jeter, Posada. Is it Bernie?
Bernie
Or who am I
Williams.
thinking of? No, I saw a stat. It made me remind
Paul
me.
O'Neill.
No. There
O'Neill,
was
of course.
Malkin, Crosby, and Letang have passed
Pedroia.
Jeter, Posada, and Rivera, I think,
Oh, yeah,
as the
Rivera.
longest teammates to play the most seasons together.
Ah,
That's
okay.
They
incredible.
played like 16 seasons together or something like that. And now Letang, Malkin, and Crosby are like 17 or
Wow.
something. And I just saw that recently this week or something. And it was just
That's
the
pretty neat.
longevity of the Penguins and
Yep.
what they've had. And those 3 guys just being together. And yeah, but those Yankees, like people want to say the Yankees bought titles in the late 90s. And look, they added to their team with money. There's no question. But they also had a lot of homegrown players on
man,
those teams.
great players.
You know, Bernie Williams has to be in that conversation. Those other 3, like they
Jeter.
did. Even in 09 when they won, they still had Jeter. They still had Posada. They had Rivera. They also had a few, like Brett Gardner. I think Robinson Cano was on that
Yeah.
team.
Cano was another
Was
great
Posada on the team at the time, or is he already gone?
No, I think he was still there.
Was he?
Yeah.
But like they had some other, like they brought in
Yeah.
AJ Burnett. They brought in Mark Teixeira. They brought in CC Sabathia. But they also developed some players at that time too.
Right,
And that's when the Yankees were great. Is they spend money, but they also developed.
Yeah.
And that's the thing in baseball. You still have to have a farm system
This
that is
year-
bringing up players, because if you don't have that, no money is going to buy you a full title.
No.
And that's to me at least the misconception of the Yankees that they just bought titles. They developed some players too.
Yeah. This year in baseball was phenomenal. Did anybody see the Texas Rangers or the Diamondbacks coming this year?
No.
No.
Heck no. At the start of the season, they were our team to watch, but not for that reason. because they're starting to turn things up. And they made some cool changes. But holy crap, man, what an unbelievable year.
How good of a manager is Bruce Bochy?
Oh, he's obviously good. I know Chris Woodward very, very well. So it's kind of unfortunate, but there was a GM change, which probably stirred a lot of things up. And of course, again, like you see in a lot of sports, you want to bring in your guys.
Yeah.
But yes, that is something special. He kind of reminds me of Scotty Bowman, kind of in hockey, right? Scotty's just got that approach that I just don't think anybody else had,
3 titles with the Giants in the odd years,
Come on. Listen. But here's the crazy thing. Yankees, what? I don't know if somebody can look up the payrolls. Yankees were like 4th in payroll, right?
Yeah.
Dodgers were 2nd or 3rd. But the New York
Mets would have been 1.
The Mets were 1. I think the highest payroll maybe this last year in Major League history, $340 million plus.
Cohen spent a ton of money.
Paying luxury tax for
20,
fun.
but listen, 21 games back at the end of the season, something, right?
Yeah.
They were a disaster.
Yeah.
Like,
Again, money can't just buy you a title.
Exactly, Matt. That's what I'm saying. That's why I love teams like the Rays and the A's, the Twins, who are always competing. Baltimore right now. Baltimore's been one of our teams to watch for 5 years, ever since they started the new ownership and all this turmoil.
The Rays have been successful.
No.
They haven't gone and won it all.
If you work in a sporting organization right now, guys, sorry to cut you off, Matty, but if you work in a sporting organization right now, if you aren't focusing, and I don't care what sport it is, if you're not looking at the Tampa Rays to get some kind of understanding of what's going on there, you're not doing your job.
When they lost their guy
Yeah.
to the Dodgers,
Yeah.
Andrew Friedman, and that was when the Rays just first got good, and you're thinking, oh, there's the guy that's gone. So he's gone and had the extra money, and he built the Dodgers into what they are.
Oh, my goodness.
And then the Rays just have continued.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how?
It's a 15-year run now. Like 2008 is when they kind of started to really turn
Once
the corner.
they dropped the devil.
Longoria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
When they dropped the devil from Devil Rays, that next year they actually started being good.
Holy stop. What? I've never
It was
connected
kind of like
those dots.
it was like right away.
I'm
Once
on that, man.
you just go, they dropped the devil and they became good.
The Rays.
Yeah.
Oh, man. How about
There was a story about Andre Dawson wants to have his hat changed from Expos to Cubs in the Hall of Fame, and then they were talking
go
about
away.
Wade Boggs got paid to go into the Hall of Fame as a Devil Ray. I thought that was hilarious. I was
that
like,
is.
okay.
Oh, man.
Can I get the Rays?
So great. So great, man. The Rays. But this is what I'm talking about in sport. Like, there are things that go on inside these organizations. You just have to look at the successful organizations. There's something special going on there.
So the Tampa Bay Rays, Devil Rays. They came in the league in '98. I'll
Yes.
tell you their division positions where they finished: 5th, 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 4th, 5th, 5th, 5th.
Pretty sucky.
First year as the Tampa Bay Rays. First. Went from 66 wins to 97. Since 08, first, third, first, second, third, second, fourth, fourth, fifth, third, second, first, third, second.
What?
Dropped the Rays, they dropped the devil, and the
And then
Rays
just the
became
Rays,
good.
yeah.
Boom. Just like
It's
that.
magic.
This is a sport, something that makes you go, I didn't realize that before, man.
Divine
That's
intervention.
66 wins to 97. Now, things changed on the field a little bit, but
No.
went from Devil Rays to just Rays. And boom, those 5 letters just weighed
Yeah.
the team down.
Yeah.
They couldn't run in the fabric. They needed to just lighten it up a little bit.
Oh my God.
That's
what?
insane.
That's insane, man. Listen, I hope that they get a new stadium I hope they get a following, man. Those fans, they need fans there. But, you talk about it, the
Well, they
Dodgers,
better.
though, big money teams. You could talk about the Yankees, of course.
Yeah.
But the Dodgers have something. Watch them. I think the 2 teams to watch right now are the Braves and the Dodgers in terms of, money and development.
Yeah.
These teams are powerhouses right now, and there's no slowing them down. Baltimore is going to be fun to watch, but I think the small payroll teams, small market teams, they don't have the staying power of the big boys,
Yeah.
right? If
Can you
look-
keep them around?
If you look what the Dodgers have done, guys, like there's magic going on
For
there.
the longest time in my life, they weren't anything.
No.
They were just the team from LA, like the Dodgers. They had the history, but they weren't good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they're just a power.
What was last year? 12 or 13 years consecutive postseason appearance.
Just insane what they've done out there.
It is.
And they've turned it around.
And they're investing in their youth and development, right? I know this for a fact. So there's some cool things going on there.
Andrew Friedman, baby.
Yeah.
I have a question about development. You were talking about like the development programs and the camps you run in Mexico and Sinaloa, of all places.
Yeah.
If you ever watch Narcos, you would know Sinaloa well. But these major league teams and developing and building up grassroots programs in the Dominican. Yeah. Is that part of it? Like, how does that work?
Part of it.
Are you tied into that at all?
Well, no, that's all team. That's affiliated baseball.
And what are they doing exactly?
So it's a pure developmental model. So it's an extension of the minor league programs, right? I think every team has a Dominican complex. Some of them are shared as well, but they'll send some of their young players down there to play in the winter and just to experience, because the talent pools there are great. But you drive in through the jungle and all of a sudden, poof, you open up and it's this beautiful baseball mecca. That's just beautiful. The Team Canada goes down there regularly, the junior national team, to get good games. So there's some special things going on there, especially with the contraction of the minor league programs, right?
Yeah.
4 teams now, right? That really changed the developmental mindset of the teams. And so the Dominican side, the complexes and academies in the Dominican are now a really important part of the puzzle. Not that they weren't before, but they play, I think, a much more important role. This change in baseball with the contraction of the minor leagues, so if people weren't familiar with it, teams would typically have 5 to 7 minor league teams. Now you're restricted to only a certain number of players and 4 teams.
Right.
So a couple of things don't happen. One, those diamonds in the rough that might just show up late, those guys aren't getting the opportunities anymore. So you think of some of these great players that are even Hall of Famers now that were never expected to be great players, but just were in the system and carved a path for themselves. That's not going to happen as much anymore. And the second thing that I'm interested to watch, we're going into our 3rd year, I think, of the minor league contraction.
Yeah.
I am interested to see we don't have as many veterans now, because they're not hanging on to these guys longer. So you're in, you got to perform, or you're out again, because they're turning these guys through. So you lose 2 things. One, you don't get the long-term development anymore. Like, you take Gifton Gopi, one of our academy guys from Africa, the first Black African player to ever play Major League Baseball. And if you saw where this kid grew up and played, you would be emotional.
Wow.
It's an incredible story. I'm so proud of him, man. But the Pirates gave him 7 years in the minor leagues to develop, and that's never going to happen again. It's just not. The other thing you lose in the contraction is the veteran leadership for the minor league players. How's that going to change?
Right.
Because those coaching's one thing, staff is one thing, but veteran players and the influence on young developing players is irreplaceable. And that landscape has totally changed, because you don't have long-term veterans in the minor leagues anymore.
Yeah.
So we're looking at kind of a new age of baseball too. So I think it's going to take 5 to 10 years to really iron itself out, but we're watching with great interest because it's a different landscape out there now.
Yeah.
Here's the cool thing though, guys. You look at what the Riverhawks are doing. You look at Sylvan Lake. You look at Medicine Hat. You look at Okotoks. You look at maybe this project in Spruce Grove that's coming along. Western Canada has the potential to be a mecca for baseball development globally, even at the pro level, because the independent leagues now have such an opportunity for the owners of these independent teams that get it. If they start developing players, because now you have 1,000 players that would have been signed to pro that are trying to play somewhere. And they're going to college now, so now the college game becomes more important. It's just a massive shift in the baseball landscape that we've never seen in any sport ever. And it's pretty cool to see how it's rolling out.
Did it need to happen given the funding model from before? And I know you worked through systems, and my buddy Mike Kissy, I don't know if you know Mike, but he worked for the Yankees organization in Tampa, actually. And he's like, yeah, there were some major issues, major issues.
Yeah, the pressure was on the owners, right? I mean, basically, if you look at, you go to some of these places, these minor league kids are getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
They got to have 5 or 6 guys in an apartment just to make the bills.
Yeah.
And they're eating crappy food because they can't afford it.
Right.
So part of this was the Players Association putting pressure on the owners to up the living standards for the minor league players. And the way that happened is cut the number of minor league players.
Yeah.
So now minor league players are actually making an okay living while they're developing in the game. And so that was part of the big picture for sure. And I think it kind of, the end is going to be a good thing once the dust settles.
Gotcha.
I really do.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I really do.
Tom Gazzola, Iwanyk with Jeff Krushell, part of his show is Krush Performance. You can catch it live right here at Edmonton Sports Tech tonight, 7 o'clock. It's every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. Or just head to jeffkrushell.com and get more info on his show as well as everything else Jeff is working on. I do want to go to the Jays just one more time here quickly. Do you think the Jays could turn around Alek Manoah and get him back on track?
Yeah, I think so. I don't, again, we don't know all the details, right?
Yeah.
But yes, why not? I mean, there is so much talent left there. It's just a matter of how you manage it and get it back on track. So
Is that a physical thing or is that a mental
I
thing?
think it might be from the sounds of it. Again, not knowing him personally, but it sounds like it's a little bit of combination of both. But it's where we're at now in terms of player development. The answer for me is 100% yes. Now, do they do it? That's a different question. Can it be done? I absolutely believe so. I really, really do. And I see instances like this and I go, oh,
You want it.
I do.
Let me at him.
No, but I do. You should talk to my wife. I go, and I feel like calling the Jays up, say, guys, listen, I'm going to come and visit
Just
you.
let me be Alex's guy.
No.
Let me do it.
Not even that. Just, hey, let's just share ideas. I don't even want anything for it. But I just want to see this guy who's struggling. There's so much talent there, man. Like I remember when Serena Williams rolled her ankle and it was pretty bad. I'm going, let me rehab her and get her. She has great people with her, of course.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
So that's like it's in a sense that's your Super Bowl. You want if you see a guy struggling, you want to fix him.
I want to see. Yeah,
you want to get them back to
better
succeeding.
than ever, though. But bring them back better than ever. Because listen, something has gone wrong with that player.
Yes,
like
clearly.
something's
With a
gone
snap
wrong.
of a finger, it
Yes.
seems like.
But it shouldn't have happened. What happened? And how do you fix it, right? I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not even saying I could do it. I'm just saying I'd love to have a crack at it. I really would, man. And I watch all these athletes and some of the injuries, okay, no problem. But some of these, situations like that's one of them where I just went, let me in that door, man. Just to help out.
Is that one where the Jays, it's best to, because there's some talk of moving on from him. Is that a one that's best to keep him and try to turn it around with them?
Yeah. Again,
you think?
yeah.
If you were in their shoes.
If I was there, man, I like what they did. They kind of pulled a Roy Halladay, right? They sent him down to the minor leagues. Let's course correct down there, bring him back and rock and roll. I mean, that's what they did with Doc, right? Back in the day, and look what happened there.
Yeah, unbelievable career.
Hallelujah.
He's the one athlete I wish had a ring. They're not many. Like if a guy that I wish got one was him because I don't think he got his due because he was playing in Toronto for how great of a pitcher he was.
Well, that's the other thing.
When he got traded to the Phillies, like all of a sudden, it's like, this great pitcher. He's been great for a number of years.
Yes.
This guy would pitch complete games all the time, which is now unheard of.
I have his programs in my drawer. I have a doc file still. Oh, I miss him. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that was a
sad story.
That was a very sad one.
sad.
But he was just he was a machine on that mound. He was just so great.
I think teams give up on players. And I understand the urgency, though, right? There's an urgency in that level of sport that is just, you can't, it doesn't stop for anybody, right? So there's a time where administration has to decide. But again, when I started working for an organization is one thing, but I'm telling you, when I started working for agencies, the player agencies on that side of it, I loved it. Loved it because it didn't matter what happened with the team. You had guys. And you could help them whether they're going up, down, in and out, or wherever they're going. You got their back, and I loved it, man. I remember working, in pro sports, and all of a sudden you spent 7 years working for a guy, helping him. These guys, they put their careers in your hands, like they really do. Like the job of the performance guys, like it's an underappreciated part of professional sports. The players, trust me, it's not underappreciated there at all. But I think in the big picture, if you look at fans and sport coverage, these guys are the unsung heroes of the game, the medical staff and the performance guys who are taking care of these guys every day. Listen, when I went up to the big leagues, man, I just took a back seat. The good thing was, I had a bunch of players that I'd worked with in the minor leagues for years coming up. So they knew me. And that was huge because we had veterans up there that saw me around a bit, but they're like, okay,
but they had their guy.
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
Like, who's this guy? McNamee, this head strength coach, went to the Yankees with Clemens. So that's when I moved up to the big leagues. And the guys who were, well-established veterans, I didn't pressure in. I just helped them out. And I tell you what, by the midway point to the first half of my first season, it was beautiful, guys. It was like, but they were just, Krushell, what do I do today?
Yeah.
I go, oh yes, man, let's go.
That's the right question.
Let's go. This is the best Wednesday ever.
But
I'm ready.
But listen, every day you had to try to either pull back on the reins for the guys or find a way to just keep them where they're at, or let's advance. And we were always looking for ways to advance. We did some groundbreaking work behind the scenes, just in terms of sports science with the Blue Jays. And the guys who were there, I know them still quite well. They're still doing sound of it. Okay, that's a story for another day. I could talk about this all day. But the point I'm trying to make
Krush Performance.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make is the way I looked at it is when these guys looked to me and trusted me, they are literally putting their futures, their careers, their family's welfare in my hand. It's not a small job, guys. It's not. These guys are trusting you, right?
Yep.
And so the organization, be honored, the organization trusts you to do that job, but the players are trusting you with their performance and their careers. Oh, man. Come on now. When I went to so the point was you get an email coming across, say, hey, cease and desist all communication with player X, da-da-da-da-da. They don't tell you what's going on.
Yep.
But you just spent 5 years. We've had him over to our house because he's maybe living on his own. We cook dinner for him and he meets my girls and my wife and, and we just talk about, hey man, how are we going to move forward? Like we'd have great conversations. And all of a sudden, excommunicado. You get this message. And that's the part I didn't like. You'd still stay in touch, of course. But in terms of
But you have to let go to a degree because you're being paid not to help him now.
Yes.
And he's got to go deal with his next person.
Yeah. And you want to go, oh my God, I want to call. I knew all this.
But you don't get that with the player when you're with the agency because if they bounce around, you're still with the player.
There, and I'm talking to the performance guys. I'm calling the heads. Hey guys, you're getting this guy. Here's what he's got. Da 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 da. And there were times, we internally, the strength coaches, we were all pretty tight, and they still are pretty tight, man. It's great. It's a great community in professional sport. But when players moved, of course, trainers would change. They're obligated to. But the performance guys, okay, so what's going on? I said, guys, listen, man. Here's what we've been doing. This is what he's been doing. Here's where, and we would have those conversations because we care about their guys. They're just like us sitting here.
Yeah. You develop that personal relationship, right?
And like I say this before, out of thousands of players I've worked with, there's probably only 3 guys that I would never invite home to my family. Just because there's those people out there. Yeah. But for the most part, just great people, man. And you want to help them be their best. And there's nothing like it.
Justin Belgoni. Krush is a great guest.
Yeah,
it really is. This was a fun hangout on this Wednesday. As I've mentioned, Krush Performance, 7 o'clock right here in Edmonton Sports Talk later tonight. Or you can go to jeffkrushell.com for more information, everything Jeff's doing, or catching up on his Krush Performance shows from the past. It's been going on for years, and you've been doing great work. 18 years. There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
I appreciate it. I love it, guys. Love talking shop.
Oh, that was fun.
Great to have you back in the country, first of all, and then back in town.
Who was it? Jason Leduc said, did Jeff say he was suffering from jet lag or jet fuel with all the energy you're bringing? Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop with Dusty and Huss. Thanks to the boys at CoolBet for sending us some CoolBet merch. I can't wait to go through all of that. They'll look at what's on the slate tonight in sports, and then at noon, Tom Gazzola is back with Dustin Nielsen. It is the Oil Stream. You guys will recap the Oilers' 5-4 shootout win over the Golden Knights yesterday and look ahead to tomorrow's game against the Jets. That's coming up here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Those listening to us and tune in, as well as those watching on YouTube. On behalf of Tom Gazzola, Jeff Krushell, I'm Matt Iwanyk. This was the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. Lock Shop coming up in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in.